So we're getting into a level 11 for this character. That will be level 10 for the wizard portion of this character, and that is going to give us another one of our illusion abilities. The ability we get is called Illusory Self. Beginning at 10th level, you can create an illusionary duplicate of yourself as an instant, almost instinctual reaction to danger. When a creature makes an attack roll against you, you can use your reaction to impose the illusory duplicate between the attacker and yourself. The attack automatically misses you, and then the illusion dissipates. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you use a short or long rest. So this kind of fits with things like mirror image already, and with our shield already. Now we can't use this in addition to shield, but we can use this in addition to mirror image. So it's just another way that we can make it so that attacks against us that would have hit now miss. So at this level, we're getting an additional cantrip. What I'm going to be doing is grabbing Green Flame Blade. So this gives us another melee option, and we can do, if we have two enemies that are beside each other, now one of them doesn't have to move in order to get the secondary damage. We can get the secondary damage automatically. We're going to get 2 additional 5th level spells, and I'm going to want Rary's Telepathic Bond. And I think Rary's Telepathic Bond for this character, of course, again, is a really good addition. I think it's good for all wizards, and it's a ritual, so we don't have to prepare it. The other one I'm going to take is Bigby's Hand. I think this is a very nice spell for this character, because it has versatility, and it has uses using a bonus action. So we have our action for other things, like maybe a Booming Blade, or maybe Malleable Illusions to change the nature of another illusion we have happening. Now, some of our illusions do require concentration, but they don't all require concentration. Remember, we just talked about Seeming at last level, doesn't require concentration, is affected by Malleable Illusions. So with Bigby's Hand, we're getting a bonus action to operate the hand. We can do it to do some damage. Damage isn't great, but for a bonus action, not a bad thing to do. Forceful Hand can push an enemy. Grasping Hand can grapple and potentially crush enemies, and in an interposing hand can simply block enemy movement. I should mention too that if you want to cast this spell with a higher level slot, and your intention is to use it for damage, because that 48 damage isn't great with a bonus action, but it does scale well. You get 2d8 additional damage with each spell level. So if you cast it with a 6th level slot, suddenly it's 68 every round using your bonus action. That's not bad damage, right? And then if we wanted to use a 7th level slot, that's 8d8 every round with the bonus action. That's pretty good damage, actually. So our preparations at this level are Absorb Elements, Fog Cloud, Shield, Dark Vision, Mirror Image, Misty Step, Hypnotic Pattern, Dimension Door, Greater Invisibility, Polymorph, Bigby's Hand, Seeming, and Wall of Force. Now, the one that I'm a little bit iffy on is Fog Cloud. To some degree, I might consider doing Silent Image instead because it gets the advantage of Malleable Illusions. In fact, I think I'm going to do that. We'll unprepare Fog Cloud and prepare Silent Image instead. Now, keep in mind, at 11th level, all our cantrips have scaled again, so now our Booming Blade and Green Flame Blade do quite a bit more damage, and so sneak attack's not a big deal anymore, but we'll still take that additional d6. So this character is a lot better at doing melee attacks than we would expect from a wizard that's not focused on melee, because this character is still really focused on illusion and doing other spell-like things. But in terms of melee, it is doing more damage than we would expect from any wizard that doesn't focus on it. But now we are really feeling like a wizard. We're still 1 spell level behind, but when it comes to those big spell levels, 3rd, 4th, and 5th level, we now have them. So we're not going to feel so far left behind anymore, and we still have all the rogue stuff that makes us still feel like a rogue that can do magic. So I'm going to start jumping 2 levels at a time here. So we're going to jump Wizard to level 12. This is going to give us an ability score improvement, and at this point now I want to start focusing on my intelligence. So let's get our intelligence up to an 18. This adds so many things, including spell preparations and spell DCs. So we're going to get 4 6th level spell selections. The first one I'll take is Contingency. That I am probably going to be doing with the Dimension Door for if I take a certain amount of damage, I get the Dimension Door and get out of trouble. The second one I'm going to take is Programmed Illusion, and I'm going to take this at 11th level. And so this is 1 action, lasts until dispelled. You create an illusion of an object, a creature, or some other visible phenomenon within range that activates when a specific condition occurs. The illusion is imperceptible until then. It must be no larger than a 30-foot cube, and you decide when you cast a spell how the illusion behaves, what sounds it makes. The scripted performance can last up to 5 minutes. When the condition you specify occurs, the illusion springs into existence and performs the manner that you described. Once the illusion finishes performing, it disappears and remains dormant for 10 minutes. After this time, the illusion can be activated again. I want to talk again about DM interpretation of illusion spells, because one thing that comes up is when we target an area for a spell, what counts as the area? Specifically, if we are, and I've used this example before, let's say you're on a ship and you happen to be on a cart on that ship. You're loading in boxes and you do a chest and it's open and you create an illusion in the chest of gold. So when it comes to where that illusion is it in the chest, or is it in the cart, or is it on the ship, or is it on the river that the ship is on, or is it on the land that the river is flowing through, or is it in space that the planet is orbiting through, etc. And let me explain a little further. So let's say for a moment we have the situation we said. Our illusionist is on a ship, they're on a cart. On that cart there is a chest of gold, or there is a chest that's empty, and we cast an illusion on it to have it full of gold. So if the illusion is on the chest, then that means if we picked up that chest, the gold would move with the chest. And if we took the chest off the cart, the gold would still appear to be in the chest. That's one way to interpret it. The second way to interpret it would be it's assigned to the cart, because the cart maybe is where the map is. Maybe the map shows the cart. So that becomes what your DM assumes is where the image is. So in that case, what would happen is you would cast the illusion of the gold in the chest, pick up the chest, and the chest would now appear empty, and you would have gold just floating in the air where the chest used to be, because it is above the cart and it can't move its location. The next possibility would be the ship, because maybe the ship is the greater map area. So then what happens is if we were to maybe move the cart, then the gold would move outside of the chest and appear floating in midair above the ship, and then the chest would once again appear empty. Or maybe it's the river, and then the gold would move along with the current outside of the chest and just move down the river, and you would just see that gold disappearing. Or maybe it's the land that the river is on, or the orbit. You can see where I'm going with this. There's so many different ways to interpret it, and you need to know what your DM thinks is appropriate. Because if your DM says that if you cast the illusion on the chest is the origin of that illusion, and you can move around that chest and that illusion moves with the chest, then that is going to be a lot more favorable for us as an illusionist, especially using spells like Major Image and Programmed Illusion, which are permanent spells. So now that I've got that all out of the way, let me explain very quickly. So let's say I cast Program Illusion on myself, and the triggering effect is I get damaged. Then what you can have is you get attacked, you get damaged, suddenly maybe a duplicate of you appears and starts moving in a different direction. Now the enemy suddenly has two of you to choose between. That's one way you might use a Programmed Illusion. And then after it's done, it resets, and then in the next combat, you could use it again, and again, and again, and again. Again, this lasts until it's dispelled. Also, with Major Illusion, remember it was permanent until dispelled if we cast it with a 6th level slot or higher, and it wouldn't require concentration. Well, now we can use 6th level slots. So what I did with one illusion character I had is I had them cast an illusion of a ring on their finger. Then I can use malleable illusions to change the nature of the illusion. So now it's no longer an illusion of a ring. Now it's an illusion of a dragon, for example. So then it would just give me a mobile major image that I could use my malleable illusions on to create interesting things out of. Now, in that campaign, I don't think it broke anything. I really don't. I don't think this character was more powerful than any non-illusionist wizard would be. Because as you can see with the other builds I've done, once you get to this level, you're very powerful regardless. You're a wizard. So this just made me powerful with illusions. So if your DM plays that way, that's really good for your character. And I'm going to assume that your DM plays that way, and I have been assuming for this build. So programmed illusion, that's what I'm going to be using it for. Remember, we can pile these on. They don't require concentration. There is no limit to how many programmed illusions we have, so we can have other effects that occur with other triggers. You make the call. And with a major illusion, you can have more than one ring. You can have several different major illusions that you can just bring into effect when you need them. Now, what this does mean is that there's no point in us preparing major illusion anymore, because we now have a non-concentration version we can use whenever we need. Phew, that's over. Okay, so now let's pick 2 more spells. We'll just make these easy ones. Mass Suggestion, of course, really good spell. And Eye Bite gives us a lot of nice options. And it's one of those spells that can allow you to extend the duration of your 6th level slot, so you cast it once, and then you can use it throughout the combat. So we're going to jump our wizard level to 14, our overall level to 15, and something very important happens now with Illusionist. Illusory Reality. By 14th level, you have learned the secret of weaving shadow magic into your illusions to give them semi-reality. When you cast an illusion spell of 1st level or higher, you can choose one inanimate, non-magical object that is a part of the illusion and make that object real. You can do this on your turn as a bonus action while the spell is ongoing. The object remains real for 1 minute. For example, you can create an illusion of a bridge over a chasm and then make it real long enough for your allies to cross. The object can't deal damage or otherwise directly harm anyone. So this means that spells like Silent Image, I absolutely want prepared at this point, because I can use Illusory Reality to make it real as a bonus action. This means I can do things like I can create a wall of stone with a silent image and then use my bonus action to make it real. And now, for 1 minute, I have a wall of stone that I don't need to concentrate on. This is something that no other wizard in the game can do, so we actually become better at wall spells than evokers or conjurers would be. Now, I will say that Jeremy Crawford has said you can do this once per illusion. So when we're talking about things like that permanent major illusion or the programmed illusion, remember, we could create a real aspect of that illusion one time. And then once we've done that, then it's just an illusion after that. But this is just a really powerful ability. One of the main reasons you want to play an illusionist, the ability to create barriers or illusions that are real. So it's not even an illusion anymore. This is actually a solid object. Now, when it comes to our 7th level spells, the first one I'm going to take, I think pretty obviously, is Mirage Arcane. Again, this is a spell that does very well with malleable illusions. So you make the terrain in an area up to 1 mile square look, sound, and smell, and even feel like some other kind of terrain. So for the first time, we have an illusion that affects our tactile senses. This is different than illusory reality. Illusory reality is actually making the illusion real. This just appears to be real. The terrain's general shape remains the same, however. Open fields or a road could be made to resemble a swamp, hill, crevasse, or some other difficult or impassable terrain. A pond can be made to seem like a grassy meadow, a precipice like a gentle slope, or a rock-strewn gully like a wide and smooth road. So obviously there's some uses there. Similarly, you can alter the appearance of structures, which we couldn't do with some lower level spells that we didn't take, or add them where none are present. That's important. So we can create structures where there weren't any before. Spell doesn't disguise, conceal, or add creatures. The illusion includes audible, visual, tactile, and olfactory elements, so it can turn clear ground into difficult terrain, or vice versa, or otherwise impede movement through the area. Any piece of the illusory terrain, such as a rock or stick, that is removed from the spell's area disappears immediately. Creatures with true sight can see through the illusion to the terrain's true form. However, all other elements of the illusion remain, so while the creature is aware of the illusion's presence, the creature can still physically interact with the illusion. Now, there's debate on exactly what changing our olfactory senses allows, because I've had people, and I've talked about this before, I talked about this in the spells video, who said that I could use this to create lava flow that is going to burn all the enemies up. I can use it to create 100-foot adamantine walls around a city. I can use it to create stairs that I can climb up. I don't buy into that, because in my opinion, and the way I read the spell, the olfactory senses are only tricked. You're not actually creating a real item. You're just creating an item that feels and seems real. But what Mirage Arcane allows you to do with Malleable Illusions is change things up. So you want a wall? Boom, you got a wall. Now I want it gone. Boom, it's gone. Now there's water there. I want the enemies to think it's plain ground. Boom, they do. Now I want to have heavy cover. Boom, I do. And this covers a 1 mile square for 10 days, no concentration. And you can just change it up as you need to. Certainly, if I ever had a home base, I want this cast on the home base. But in terms of combat, obviously lots of uses there. Being able, again, we can already make real walls, but now we can make walls that seem real. We can affect our enemies' movements. Now, the one thing about this is it's not something we're going to be able to move. So it's going to be stuck in the location we cast it in. And I've heard people say that you might cast it on a dungeon and then you can change aspects within the dungeon, but it is limited to areas that you can see. So if you are at the entrance of a dungeon, you can change the entrance of a dungeon. You cannot change the inside of a dungeon. The spell doesn't reach that area. Still, as an illusionist, I think this is an obvious choice for this level. The second spell I'll take is Simulacrum. Obviously, as a wizard, and you guys know, I'm going to just take Simulacrum with all these builds because it is just something that I think is a must-have for any wizard once they can take it. Now, I'm going to want some kind of utility transport spell. I'll go ahead and take Teleport. I could take Plane Shift here. And the final spell I'm going to take is I'm going to grab another big gun spell, and I will take Reverse Gravity, which I have talked about before. It just gives us another option. It's kind of like spells like Hypnotic Pattern, where we can affect multiple enemies and give us a tactical advantage in combat. It's a combat spell. We're not using this one so much creatively as just effectively. At this point, I'm going to unprepare Polymorph. We're getting to that point where Polymorph isn't so effective anymore. And that's going to allow me to prepare both my Teleport spell, my Reverse Gravity spell, and my Mirage Arcane spell. So we're going to jump this character to 17th level. This is normally the level where spellcasters go crazy because they're going to get 9th level spells. We're going to have to wait one more level. So we're just going to go to 16th level right now as a wizard, 17th level as a character. We will get an ability score improvement. That gets our intelligence now up to 20. So we got there. It just took a little bit longer. Now we're going to go to our spells, and we are going to be adding our 8th level spells. So being an illusionist, I think I should take Illusory Dragon. And Illusory Dragon, I've talked about before. It's mainly, if we just take it from the raw, it is a movable fear effect that also has the ability to do damage with a breath weapon. And that in itself makes it a reasonably effective spell. Now we can, of course, alter the appearance of this with malleable illusions, but there's also got to be creative uses of creating a huge dragon that's running in and people are running away from. So there are creative uses here. Again, I can't really talk about them. They're so circumstantial. But keep in mind the fact that in addition to this being a fear effect, in addition to it having a breath weapon, that this is something that looks like a dragon, sounds like a dragon, roars like a dragon, breathes like a dragon. It is reasonable that enemies would react as if it was an actual dragon. Number 2, let's grab the Maze spell. We know this is a really effective single target spell. Most of our spells affect mass quantities of enemies, and if we don't want to be doing melee attacks all the time, Maze is a great way to target a single enemy and be incredibly effective against them. We know Demiplane is a very useful spell for us to have in terms of just storing stuff. So I'm going to grab the Demiplane spell as well. And finally, I'm going to grab the Mind Blank spell. Probably not going to be able to prepare it all the time, but if I know I'm going to need it, because remember, it creates complete immunity to divination spells and the charm condition, and sometimes we know those are the kinds of things we're going to face. If we do, this is well worth preparing and casting because it lasts for 24 hours without concentration. But with this character, I'm going to have my Maze, and I'm going to have my Illusory Dragon, and my Demiplane prepared. Now, we could not prepare Demiplane and prepare Mind Blank instead, and that's a perfectly reasonable option as well. With some of these other wizards, what I've done is I've not prepared Demiplane and I've prepared different spells instead, and I've kind of explained how that would work. So now we're going to move this character to the 19th level. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to increase my wizard level to 17. That's going to give me my 9th level spells. So I'm going to go into my add spells, and then I can grab 2 9th level spells. The only illusion spell at 9th level is Weird. Weird is a terrible spell, and I would never take it, and I'm not going to take it for this character either. There's nothing that I get as an illusionist that makes that spell worth taking. So what I will take is Wish and True Polymorph. And I would probably go back and forth between preparing one or the other, depending on what I wanted to do that day. I think most of the time, I'll want Wish prepared. With a lot of these wizards, I haven't bothered preparing Wish, even though I've taken Wish. I think with all of them, I suspect I have with all of them. If I haven't, let me know. I don't know why I wouldn't, because Wish is something that's very useful to have in your spellbook, even when it's not prepared. But with this character, we're going to prepare Wish. We're going to cast it every day. And once in a while, we might not prepare Wish. We'll prepare True Polymorph instead. Obviously, there's lots of permanent uses for True Polymorph as well. So we'll grab our cunning action. Now we can do bonus action Disengage, bonus action Hide, and bonus action Dash. And I really don't think it costs us that much because, again, we already have 9th level spells for Wizard. We can get a couple more, but we are only going to be casting one a day regardless. And then with our final 20th level build, we will go ahead and grab our 18th level of Wizard. And what we want to do here is, this is for Spell Mastery, because with Spell Mastery we can take 2 spells that we have prepared and we can cast them without using slots. So the first one we'll do is Misty Step, just because of the obvious use of that. And the second one we're going to use is Silent Image. Now remember, we have Illusory Reality. That means we can cast Silent Image and we can make it real as a bonus action. And we can do this now again and again and again. Now I just had someone tell me that when I take this character, I shouldn't do Silent Image, because remember, with our 6th level slots, we can make major images that we can take with us if our DM interprets it the right way, and then we can just use them instead of Silent Images, and they're bigger and they cover more things than visual. They can make noise and they're just better than Silent Images. But we can only use Illusory Reality on each of them once. With a Silent Image that we can cast every round, we can use Illusory Reality every round. So do I want Silent Image as my spell mastery with this character? Absolutely. So that's our 20th level, Ultimate Arcane Trickster. Now remember that with our skill proficiencies, the nice thing about these is they scale, right? Because our proficiency bonus is always going up. So we add all those proficiencies at 1st level, we add our expertise at 1st level, and even though we're not taking Rogue after that, we're just going Wizard, those skills are improving and improving and improving with us, so that initial investment keeps paying off. So by the end, this character has a plus 15 to stealth, plus 13 to deception. Remember, we only have a 12 charisma, but we have a plus 13 to that score. And then we still have so many other skills as well. But as a wizard, we are still an 18th level wizard. We gain 9th level spells at 18th level, so only 1 level behind. And so when it comes to spell casting, this character is just a little bit behind a full wizard. But if I want to play a wizard, this isn't necessarily the way I would go. This is the way I would go if I want to play a rogue. If you are considering your next character being a rogue style character, consider this build or a build like this instead, where we're just going to take those things from rogue that we associate with rogue, being able to sneak, being able to deceive our enemies, being able to use trickery, and then go with spells instead of sneak attack. And that way we just increase the versatility of that character. And I do think we increase the overall effectiveness of this character. Remember, if this was a 20th level rogue, yeah, we would have 11 dice of sneak attack. But this character has Wish. Does 11 dice of sneak attack really make up for 9th level spell casting? And not just Wish, of course, everything else up to that as well. And remember, as an illusionist, we get so many boosts with our illusion spells. Malleable illusions is something that's going to come up again and again, and illusory reality again and again. But even things like illusory self or improved minor illusion, at the level we get it. I mean, improved minor illusion isn't something we're going to be using at higher levels. But there's so many different abilities with this character that we can use again and again in a useful way. So that's it. The Ultimate Arcane Trickster, that is the rogue I would play. But enough with this caster nonsense. Next week, we are going to make a melee character. Of course, it's going to be a wizard too, and this is our Githyanki War Mage. So for that build, which I call the Battle Mage, I hope you'll join me next Monday. Until then, I'm going to sit back and relax, have some fun. D&D is for everyone. Thanks, Optimancers. See you next time.